everyone. Welcome back to In Her Wallet, a weekly podcast helping women around the world take control of their finances for good and build better financial futures, one episode at a time. My name is Sophia. I'm the host of this podcast, the founder of In Her Wallet, and also a licensed investment representative here in Canada. This Wednesday, I am bringing you a new episode with another female founder, a new series in season 2 where I chat with female entrepreneurs about their path to successfully building companies and all the hurdles and challenges they get to fight along the way and how they overcome them. The guest of today's episode is Lorin Winata. She is a former venture capitalist turned founder of her own non-alcoholic drink startup, Melati Drinks. In less than a year of its launch, Melati, otherwise known as Asia's first non-alcoholic aperitif, is listed on the menus of Michelin-starred restaurants and is taking not only Singapore, the place of its origin, but also US and Canada by storm. Lorin and I met in Los Angeles, where she was doing a shoot for her beverage line at the hotel I was staying at. I even got to assist her as a model and also got to try the beverage, which I absolutely loved. I am very excited to learn more about Lorin and her path of building this startup from scratch. Lorin, thank you so much for being with us today and welcome to In Her Wallet.
Wow, thank you for that introduction. That was really great. Thanks for having me on here.
I'm so excited to have you on, Lauren. Before we dive in, let's do a little bit of an icebreaker. What's your so our community can get to know you better? What's your go-to coffee order?
I like a extra hot cappuccino.
Oh, okay. Extra hot. I like that. And what's your favorite movie that you can rewatch again and again? Do you have like one like that?
It's a bit silly, but I'm a hopeless romantic, and I love The Notebook. Also, just the cinematography in it. It's fantastic.
I love that movie as well. And finally, if you could move anywhere in the world right now, where would that be?
I have a dream where I live in the Mediterranean and I just cook with grandmothers in alleys and I'm sourcing for ingredients and drinking local wine and of course Melati. And
Yes.
so I think somewhere in the Mediterranean would be perfect.
You painted such a beautiful picture. I want to do that as well. Let's dive in, Lauren. Why don't we start with you telling us a little bit more about yourself and what you did prior to Malati?
Sure. Yeah. So previously I had worked as a venture capitalist. That was my career before. So working in early stage tech companies, so mostly just tech in Southeast Asia and Asia Pacific region. So this was really great from anything from, identifying companies out there. And in Southeast Asia, the beauty of it is that, even though the ecosystem was developed only in the past, let's say 7 to 10 years, it's grown so rapidly and so quickly, and it's just ripe for disruption.
How was the idea for Malati born and what led you to quitting your job and pursuing that full time?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the process of what it was as my career as a venture capitalist. However, my number one love has always been food and drink. And so, that's truly what makes me happy. Like I'm happy to cook, to host and everything around food. I'm a massive foodie. So during this time when I was in VC, I, didn't drink for a while. I didn't drink in meetings. I was traveling 1 to 3 times a week, maybe not sleeping very much, and alcohol just didn't serve my purpose back then. Not to say I don't enjoy, a glass of wine. I'm not here for complete abstinence. I'm just here to have a great option that's super flavorful, delicious, and also healthy, that's not filled with sugar or sodas or things like this, while I'm enjoying, food. Because just because you're not drinking doesn't change the people that you're meeting, it doesn't change the food that you're eating, or your lifestyle, really. And that's really why I wanted to produce something that, was premium and delicious. And so I kind of look back into my heritage within Indonesia and Southeast Asia and Asia as a whole, where we've traditionally had tonic remedy drinks that did not contain alcohol. So now we're sourcing these exact same ingredients, 70% organic from throughout Asia, and then we're cold extracting them, which means super low temperatures, high pressure, which gets out all the oils and all the plant characteristics. So the health benefits intact for 6 weeks. And that also just gives us the product completely without alcohol instead of a de-alcoholization process that will leave you with 0.5% alcohol, or won't be friendly towards our more religious friends who can't take any alcohol at all.
I think I told you when we were in LA, my sister doesn't drink alcohol. So for her, it's always been either water with a slice of lemon or a juice. Like there is nothing else on the market, and the non-alcoholic cocktails that you can get, you don't know how much sugar there is. Like there are so many additional layers of questions that you kind of have to ask yourself. So I totally see the pain point that Melati is solving, and I love it. My question is, you did mention in your answer that Melati is a premium beverage line. Why did you make the decision to go that route?
The only way that we could really make a product that would fit in, a Michelin-starred restaurant or fine dining restaurants, or even at a home bar, or be nice enough to give as a hostess gift to a good friend, is something that took a very laborious process in which we have.
Hmm.
And so it's truly the cost of the production, which is more expensive than even producing alcohol sometimes,
Wow.
especially for us. So yeah, we wanted to make something that truly celebrates all the Asian botanicals that we have, and in itself, the ingredients that we're sourcing, like goji berries, like chokeberries from Korea, we're sourcing them to the highest standard. And I mean, it's innately expensive. So why I chose to have something expensive is because I didn't want to drink anything else that was actually full of sugar and colorings and flavorings and artificial things that you will see in a lot of other non-alcoholic
Yeah.
drinks. So we just wanted to set a higher standard, to have a drink that just was also equally celebratory and equally, indulgent, just without the alcohol or nasties.
And I mean, in general, when we are socializing, we part of the experience is to have these beautiful, nice things around you, and the glass that you pour your drink into. Melati's bottle is beautifully designed, and
Thank
the
you.
shots I saw you make that time in LA. I mean,
Yeah.
on your Instagram, everything is just beautiful. It gives you that sense of um, a little bit of a luxury, right, into how you're socializing.
And
So
I think we, sorry to interrupt, I think we look at a specific pain point when we were producing the product, right? Well, my pain point was, there are a lot more women entering the workforce. There are a lot more women coming up to middle upper class because, now we're having careers and we're becoming good earners ourselves. Now it's not always safe for a woman, let's say if she's traveling alone for work situations, and or if she's surrounded in a meeting with a lot of people, maybe you don't feel safe necessarily drinking to your heart's
yeah.
desires. And or maybe you just want to stay sharp. So I think that's an interesting use case, which I personally and my friends have also benefited from, where we're able to be part of the conversation instead of just a soda water with lime or lemon, which was my previous drink of choice.
Go-to
Um,
drink.
exactly, with a bar call that you can just say, "Oh, I'll have a Melati spritz," or "I'll have something." It looks beautiful in a glass. It's, our classic is a beautiful maroon color, and our fresh is a lovely, like, dark orange. And, you don't feel like you're missing out, and you're not questioned by anyone, which, unfortunately, that is a
That
reality.
is the case.
And
Yes.
if you also look at Asian women, around 60% upwards don't have the enzyme to actually metabolize alcohol. And so, at the risk of our health and at the risk of, sacrificing the way, like feeling good in a social situation or even just personally, that's always, hopefully solving an issue.
Let's take a step back. I understand that Melati now is your full time gig. How did you prepare yourself financially to leave a well paying job and take a risk of building a startup? What did that look like for you?
a big, you know, investment tip or whatever that I have is that to save as much as you have, and delayed gratification, I think, was the thing. So the moment that I knew I wanted to set up a company, which was, I had known for many years, I just had various ideas, and I think I had such a fear of leaving the comfort of, getting a salary every month, which there's no shame in. And honestly, I question myself still to this day, every day. Um, it was a lot of saving, and it was a lot of sacrifice of having, you know, not traveling, of not spending as much, of really budgeting, of saying, okay, every month I need to allocate X amount of my salary into savings. And of course, that only gets you so far when you're, young and maybe not making as much as, someone much older than us. But I think the beauty in that is also having some side gigs. So besides the saving, I was supplemented by some side businesses that I did, and my advisor had said to me, because I was telling him about my inertia about starting a company, and he said, well, the only way to be an entrepreneur is to be one. And he said that doesn't mean you need to dive, head in into starting, leaving a company and starting your own. It could just mean that you set up a drop shipping website, or drop ship on Amazon and sell other people's goods, or set up an e-commerce, website online, and which is what I did. I set up a drop ship website that was based on the social media food Instagram that I had. And then I also worked on weekends doing freelance photography for some restaurants. And so, that also helped to support some of the day-to-day expenses that I had as an individual. Now, after a while, I did end up raising money for my company. And, um, I think most investors won't be so happy with you taking a salary just from the get go. Maybe at maximum a stipend after, you've shown some traction or some success. So it is definitely, planning to start a company is a big thing. And so eventually now, yeah, a stipend.
Do you still continue with those small side gigs right now, or is that kind of on pause right now?
It's really tough, I think, to run a company because it consumes you fully. So I've definitely not done as much of the side gigs and just fully focused on growing Melati.
Lauren, given years of experience in the VC industry and how familiar you've been with startup culture, was there anything that was surprising to you, or that anything that you weren't prepared for when you started Melati?
Absolutely. I mean, I think previously as an employee, you're never subject to that much responsibility. I think the biggest thing was when we started paying payroll, then you realize that you're actually responsible for providing for other people and their families. That's when the real stress kicks in. So, just I think it's more of a mental game than anything else. Of course, you have to be smart and you have to be able to accept help from people who know much better from you. And there will be many people who know a lot more than you, and there'll be other people who will not know as much as you. And so I think more than anything else, it's a complete mental game that you play with yourself. And so you have to be able to set aside space for you to really process those things, and you have to stay strong.
Yes, I think the mental side of things and really giving yourself, I think, credit for the path that you're pursuing, but also giving your time to digest everything. I mean, as a solo founder, you wear so many hats at the same time. That time in LA, you were doing the shoot for your beverage, you were acting as a creative producer, as the photographer, looking for the model on the spot. I mean,
Exactly.
that's a lot, right? It's stressful, of course. What has been the biggest challenge for you so far as a solo founder?
I'm not sure if there's one big challenge. I do think that I wasn't prepared to just continuously be firefighting. It's if there's one thing, then another thing will come up tomorrow. And so I think you just have to keep rolling with the punches. And like what you said, as a solo founder, you do wear a lot of hats. You're continuously, and you have to learn. And my philosophy is that I would never hire someone for something that I didn't have a baseline understanding of already. Because if I just hire someone to do it, then what's 100 times growth of zero? You'll never understand what the baseline is for that, and so you don't understand how good of a job they're doing or what the potential could be for that element of things. So I think in the beginning, my personal philosophy is that you kind of do have to understand everything on a basic level, but just have that there first before you have someone hopefully scale that element up.
Lauren, when you first made the formula for the drink, I assume it took you several times to readjust it and you had that MVP. What acted as proof of concept that made you decide, yes, we are ready to launch and we're ready to go onto the market?
So I think any founder will tell you that they're never fully happy with any product that they have. It did take 2 years. I worked with a food scientist and also Ayurvedic specialist, which is a traditional medicine doctor. Because of the ingredients that we were using in there, we wanted to make sure that it was very authentically used and properly used. Um, and then after that, I went around testing it with various sommeliers and bartenders that had world-class institutions, and literally just walking in with bottles and trying to have them taste it and give their feedback, because they will know how the product performs best, or how it pairs well with food, which is important. And basically, after we had the final product, I think you just have to launch, and then you can always reiterate is what other people had said to me. And so that was really, it was just getting product to market first and seeing how people responded to it. So we since have done a rebrand, as in we've changed the labels as we enter a different market to reflect our heritage a lot better. So that has been done. So you're just getting the MVP out was our core mission. And we're always continuously working on improving the liquid.
And when you launched Lauren, collecting that initial feedback from customers that you're now on the market, did that ever make you pivot or change?
Yeah, I think, you could give the same thing to 10 different people and they will say 10 different things. So at a certain point, you have to, be brave enough to call the shots and say, okay, this is, where it is. And that's, I think, a really tough part of being a founder is the buck stops with you and you are
Hmm.
responsible, ultimately, and you can only make the best decision with that amount of information you have at that point in time. And so,
Yeah.
and then move on.
The reason why I'm asking, that's been a real learning curve for me as a first time founder developing the e-learning platform that I'm working on for
Hmm.
women on personal finance. I work with a number of mentors and everyone has their own take on the product that I'm developing. And at first being eager obviously to work with mentors, I would apply every single
Hmm.
feedback. Now I came around to learn that obviously I need to be very selective and I need to prioritize as
Absolutely.
I'm the person who's leading the project. Yes, so it was cool to hear that from you as well. So you did kind of touch base on the launch. I know when we spoke with you, you mentioned that originally you were planning to launch in the US and North America, but because everything was happening during COVID, you actually launched in Singapore. Um, how did that go? And can you talk a bit more about whether you're trying to enter US market right now, Canada market? Where's the presence of Melati right now?
Yes, so to that point, I think I was pushed by external people to launch in Singapore when I felt that it was not right. It wasn't the right product market fit for me. It's a very different drinking culture. For me, I would have just launched in the US market first and or the UK market. So I almost do regret a bit launching first there, but then you can't say that because it gave us a great launch pad to understand how to refine the product a lot more. um, so as a result, we only are now this year in 2023 launching within the US market. What that entails is a US based website because obviously we only had a Singapore one, being able to do fulfillment also from the US market, and just having an entity over here to operate as a business. We now can ship throughout the US. We also have a partner in Canada that ships throughout Canada and supplies the restaurants and bars over there. So we can provide you a link for that. They're called Not Wasted in Canada. And so, yeah, the goal this year is really to grow our online presence because you're like forever since inception till now, we have primarily been doing B2B sales. And so now we're going to ramp up, hopefully, our D2C sales and have a lot more individuals like yourself and hopefully people who are listening to this podcast uh, purchase from our website.
Yes, we'll definitely include the link in the bio. One interesting point for me is obviously North America Melati's not at the level where, everyone knows what this is. So how do you go about getting your foot in the door and getting Melati to be a beverage of choice on the menu at restaurants and in stores?
Yes. So at the end of the day, to get it into restaurants and stores, you just have to go down to the restaurant and stores and have someone try it, contact buyers. It's a lot of sales outreach. It's a lot of just hustling your way in. And, we're also doing a lot of tastings at the retail stores that do sell us so that people can actually try the product. Because at the end of the day, as nice as something may look, I think it has to taste very good also, and you have to actually like it.
Lauren, so how long has it been in total? Over 3 years now, or under 3 years working on Melati?
I think it's been around, yeah, 3 years from inception. So we didn't actually launch the company until, a couple years after that. And so we launched in the thick of COVID in Singapore, where we were on full lockdown, which meant we couldn't even leave the house and or see anyone else outside of our household. And, in Asia, we took it quite seriously for a very extended period of time compared to North America or the rest of the world. So that was definitely a struggle. And then again, it's just rolling with the punches.
Have you launched a point of profitability with the company yet?
We are not profitable yet. That being said, we're almost break even. So we don't burn a terrible amount of money. So the goal is to hit that break even point this year. Because we,
Yeah.
as we scale and grow into another market, we've had to hire for a different market. And so it's always that chicken and egg situation of how can you scale, without the investment put in.
The reason why I'm asking this is because I really want to illustrate to all the girls who want to follow that path that there is no overnight success, and you're a great example of that. You've done gone through so many challenges. You're still striving and you're determined to achieve success with this company. So I mean, it's great that you are. I hope that everything goes well in the US and
You
Melati
too.
is on the shelves of every restaurant. Lauren, what's your advice to women who might be seeing a problem like you did back in your VC days and want to create a product that would solve an issue they're passionate about? What's your advice to women like that?
I think one core thing is even before you can start the business, you can show traction. So that will, be a proof of concept to show that there is truly a need. And you can do that very well for free, essentially, on social media by building a community of like-minded people. And then once, you're providing maybe information about that product, then you can show that, okay, these are this is a captive audience of people who actually find this a pain point and want a solution, and now I'm able to offer them a solution, so you're not jumping into the waters first without knowing a problem.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And by the way, we'll include your Instagram, where your food blog. I know you have a very big following there, so I assume that's what you're talking about. You've built that community, and now you can launch your product into that community as well.
Yeah, it's just a great starting. We need all the help that we can get. Well, everyone does. And so definitely having that feedback loop also is a great option.
Perfect. Lauren, as we're wrapping up our conversation, I want to ask you two questions that I ask every guest. What does financial freedom mean to you?
I think to me, it means just not worrying about, the things that you want for your lifestyle. So, whatever that is and whatever lifestyle that you want to have, I think that means financial freedom.
Yes, I agree with you. And what do you think every woman who wants to achieve that level of financial freedom should do to get on that path?
I think setting aside a very specific budget of how much you need to set aside every month, because a little, it compounds. And that's, something small that I think everyone can do no matter, what they have. Just even if it's a small amount, it will add up.
Lauren, how can our community get in touch with you? How can they purchase Melati in Canada or the US if they want to try it?
Firstly, we have a website, melatidrinks.com, for the US market and for the rest of the world, essentially. For Canada, we recommend, I think, for free shipping, getting it from our partner, Not Wasted. We'll send you the link. And then for all updates, you should definitely follow us on socials. So, Melati Drinks on Instagram is the best way. I read every single one of those DMs that get sent in. So, if you just want to say hi to me, please do. And then we always like to keep people updated on there.
Perfect. Love it. Okay, well, Lauren, thank you so much for being with us today, for sharing your journey. I think there is so much valuable information that all of us can learn from you. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Sophia.
So, ladies, thank you all for being with us today. As always, I want you to give yourself credit for showing up for yourself and for your financial future, because every time you increase your financial knowledge, you increase what's financially possible for you. Thank you all, and see you next week.